Hello, hello, my brothers and sisters. This is Garrett Bake, your brother in arms. Welcome to another episode of Awaken the Guardian. Awaken the Guardian, ladies and gentlemen. As always, we have a saying around here: aware today, alive tomorrow. For more information, go to awakentheguardian.com. Get your free downloadable information packet. I don't know exactly what it's called yet, but we'll think of a cool name for you. All right, let's get started. So today's topic is something I like to call the hero complex. Now, before I talk about the hero complex, I want to tell you what I did this weekend. It was a pretty big weekend for me. Why? Because my son went on his first date. That's right, first date. He is almost 17, just barely went on his first date. Now, mind you, he couldn't date until he was 16, but I'll be honest with you, we probably didn't need that rule with him because he was scared of girls. But he went on his first date. The best part was he doesn't have his driver's license yet. There was a certain number of requirements that he had to take care of, and he didn't. So mom had to drive him to the movie theater. I would have, but she was pretty sure I would have completely embarrassed him. And she was probably right. Anyway, so later on that night, I took my youngest son, who was 12, and my wife, and we went and watched a movie, specifically the new Avengers movie, Avengers Infinity War. If you haven't seen this movie, I'm going to spoil it for you. Just kidding. By the time this makes it out, you should have already seen it. But here's the point. I watched that movie, and first of all, it was a great movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I was asking my son afterwards, as we're walking back to the car, I'm asking him, so what was your favorite part? And he almost seemed overloaded. He didn't know what to say. And I was like, okay, so what was your favorite hero? And he sat there kind of perplexed for a while. He's like, I don't know. There was so many of them. And I sat there for a second and I thought about this. I thought about the movie, and I went back in my mind and I said, how many superheroes were in this movie? You had all the Avengers, then you had Spider-Man, and then you had Black Panther, and then you had the Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's there were so many quote unquote heroes in this movie that you couldn't keep track of it. Because every scene seemed to have 2 or 3 or more heroes. So yeah, it was hard to keep track of this. And as I was thinking about this, I started to think of something that I call the heroes complex, or the hero complex. Now, what is the hero complex? Well, let me tell you a little bit about police work, and then I'll apply it to my life, right? So, after spending 15 years as a police officer, I realized that I had this pattern in my life, and it was this obsession with being a hero. Now, a lot of men and women become police officers for different reasons. And I'll be honest with you, when I started, it was specifically to save the day. And I've told this story before, that the reason that I became a police officer was a combination of my 8th grade soccer coach, who was a police officer and was shot and killed in the line of duty. Him and 9/11. So 9/11 happened. I really wanted to go punch someone in the face, probably worse. So my wife said, don't go overseas or you'll come back divorced. I didn't want that. So I became a police officer. And from the beginning of this journey, if you will, as a police officer, I realized very quickly that I enjoyed the role. Literally, you gave me a badge and you gave me a gun and you told me to go out and enforce the law. How can you not feel like Superman? How can you not feel like Batman? How can you not feel like Iron Man or Captain America? That's what you feel like. And I didn't realize it at the time. I didn't when I got dressed in the morning, it wasn't that I put on Captain America underpants and my favorite Avengers t-shirt before I went out. I mean, it wasn't like that, but that feeling was there for sure. And so I would literally anticipate a little kid, get super excited to go to work and to put on my vest and to put on my badge and to put on my gun and to be able to go out and be a hero. Be able to help other people, be able to save them from the bad guy or their bad situation or something else that had happened to them, right? And this is how I saw myself. And this continued for the majority of my career. Now, I want to tell you about the personal side of things. So I talked about the professional side, right? Thoroughly enjoyed it. In fact, I would have to say that I was pretty good at it. And I'm not saying it just to be a cocky douchebag. I'm saying it because I really was. I feel that I was, and I feel I was pretty effective at what it was that I did. Here's the problem. So this hero complex that appears, especially in the line of police work, but also military and any other first responder, this hero complex is not one, A, that is sustainable, but two, that is beneficial to your personal life. So while I was being a hero in public, I was trying to take that same mentality, that same bravado, that same I have a badge and a gun, therefore I'm here to save the day, back home. See, when I got married, there was no manual on marriage. There was no book that I could read that said, hey, you're a husband and this is what you're supposed to act like. Your wife is this way, therefore treat her this way. No, there was no manual. Literally, we got married, and because of circumstances out of my control, at least that's what I like to say, my wife was pregnant within, 3 months of us being married. Okay, it wasn't my control, I admit. We were using protection, we were using condoms, but the condom broke. And a quick little side note on that story. We weren't planning on getting pregnant, or she wasn't planning on getting pregnant right away. We wanted to wait a few years, get done with college, be established in our lives, and then have kids. Well, let's just say life had a different path for us. So my wife wasn't feeling good, and being newlyweds, right, I was very concerned for her. So we went down to the doctor's office, and as we're sitting there in the doctor's office, he walks in with his clipboard, and he's taking notes or writing something down, and doesn't even look up. He's like, all right, do you want the good news or the bad news? And we're both looking at each other like, what is going on here? We're like, the good news. And he's like, well, you don't have the flu. Like, we thought she had the flu really bad. You don't have the flu. And without looking up, we're like, okay, so what's the bad news? And he's like, you're pregnant. And then he turned around and walked out of the room. We were both floored. What in the hell just happened? Anyway, side note. So back to this hero complex, right? And so as a provider, as a man in the house, I had this desire to be able to take care of my wife and my kids, right? The problem is that when I started in the career as a police officer, I was introduced to this hero complex, this hero story. And I thought, well, guess what? The general public enjoys me being a hero. They enjoy me catching the bad guy. They enjoy me protecting them. They enjoy me enforcing the law. Therefore, my wife and my kids must want it too. So I saw myself as this huge knight in shining armor, right? Here I am, gonna waltz in on my white horse with my armor on, my sword extended as the hero, right? And my wife was going to be the damsel in distress. Yay, my hero, right? And all was going to be good. She was going to give me what I wanted. My children were going to act the way that I wanted them to act because I was the hero. This was who I was. Therefore, they had to subject themselves to my will because I was the hero. Here's the problem. It doesn't actually work that way. If any of you have been married for any period of time, then you know this. You know that when your spouse tries to tell you what to do, conflict occurs. Usually minor, but sometimes major. Now, my wife is Latina, which means she has a very strong personality. And so I would come home from work, right, on this high of I am the hero, I am here to save the day. And I would come home and all of a sudden realize that things weren't being done the way I wanted them to. So what does the hero do? The hero enforces the law, right? And what's the law of my house? The law of my house is that my house will be clean. The law of my house is that my meals will be prepared. The law of my house is that my bed will be made. The law of my house is that my children will be quiet and let me watch TV while I relax because I had such a hard day. Now you can imagine how this went over. It didn't. Like a fart in church. Like there was nothing good about this. So I remember the first few times that I tried to exert my will, if you will, that I tried to enforce this this way of thinking in my house. It didn't go over very well. First, my wife would give me the look like, what in the hell are you thinking? Right? But then it would get worse, right? Because I would keep pushing. I would keep pushing. Why is this house dirty? Why are the dishes not done? Why are the kids still awake when it's late? Why are you still in your PJs? Why? And I would enforce. And then I would get mad because things weren't getting done my way. And I would keep doing this over and over and over again. And what was the main reason, or one of the main reasons why it was that I almost got divorced and that I took the path that I did that led almost to my destruction and my family's destruction? Because my wife wasn't following the rules. She wasn't listening to me. She wasn't obeying my will. Now I want you to listen to the words that I'm saying, because these are not just words. Like, this is what I actually believed. Like, I believed that my wife had to listen to me and do what I asked her to do, or in some cases, told her to do. I believed that even though I would say that we are equals, and I wanted to do everything with my wife, and I would take her advice into account. No, that was a big, fat lie. Like, it was all about me. My head was so big that it hardly fit in the door sometimes. Now think about this. Here I am, a man, right? A man who already has a big ego and a big head. Here I am walking in the door after arresting a drug dealer or arresting a murderer or catching a burglar or like any of a number of things like these, like according to the world, these badass things, right? Here comes the hero in his white horse and, in his armor. And I'd walk into the door and I would expect my wife and my children to fall down to the ground and to praise me for all these amazing things that I'd done. What I got was a wife who was tired, staring at me, still in her PJs, because my son had pooped out of his diapers for the 4th time in a period of 2 hours. When my older son just wanted me to read a book to him, and all I see is dirty dishes, clothes everywhere, and nobody listening to me. That's what I saw. So this hero complex then forced me in to this mode where all of a sudden the world was not right and I had to make it right? Things were not happening the way that I thought that they should happen. So I would collide. I would collide with my wife, and I would yell and I would scream, and I would get angry at my kids, right? I would yell at my wife, ignoring the fact that she'd been up all night with the kids, ignoring the fact that she'd just gotten home from work and hadn't had time to even eat something because she hadn't eaten all day. I would come in and immediately verbally attack her. Why isn't this done? Why are you doing the things this way? Why are the kids this? Why is their clothes here? Why are the dishes this? Why? And I would attack her and attack her and attack her. And I wondered why I spent half of my nights asleep on a couch. It wasn't because the couch was more comfortable. And this pattern kept repeating itself over and over and over again. Like, it overtook my life, this hero complex. Now think about this. I had many opportunities to take time off, to go to kids' birthday parties, to go to family holiday parties, to do different things. Yes, I had to work some of those holidays and birthday. Like I had to work some of them. There's no doubt about it. But I still had opportunities to spend with them. And instead, I would choose to go play the hero because I knew that in this world, I was welcomed. I was praised, right? I was put on a pedestal in this world. So where did I want to go? Well, obviously there. My wife and my kids didn't give two shits about me being a cop. Like they really didn't care. It wasn't that they didn't support me. They just didn't care. What they wanted was the connection and the protection. That's what they wanted. But I wasn't providing that for them. See, this hero complex is like a drug. Like I couldn't get enough of it. I needed more, and I needed more, and I needed more. And it's really easy to get the drug when you're at work. Why? Because everybody else is looking for the same drug. Like I worked gangs, and I worked SWAT, and I worked narcotics, and I worked undercover. I worked all these specialized roles where you were almost expected to work extra time, long hours, weekends. Why? Because they needed you. They, meaning the public, they needed you. You were the hero. You were the savior. You were the one that volunteered, that signed up to take care of them. And so it becomes a drug. And you become addicted to it. Addicted to the fact that no one will be able to survive without you. And so I could go home and I could collide with my wife and my kids, and I could yell at my son because he wasn't doing the things that I wanted him to do or doing them the way I wanted him or wanted them done. I could collide with my wife for the fact that she wouldn't do the dishes and the house was always dirty and I wasn't getting enough sex. Like I could collide with her over those things. Or I could go to work and be seen as the hero and have people come up to me, random strangers come up to me and say, thank you, thank you, thank you for what you do. Another hit. I love those hits. And this was my life. So my personal life is crumbling, is falling apart, but my professional life is taking off because I'm willing to sacrifice all that I have for the cause, for the greater good, to take care of the innocent people. Now think about this for a minute. Think about what I just said. Willing to throw my personal life away, my wife, my kids, for a random stranger who, at the end of the day, was going to go home to their family, to their wife, and their kids, and continue on in their life. See, but I refuse to acknowledge this because I saw myself as a savior. These people cannot take care of themselves. They need me. So I would continue, and I would continue, and I would continue. And no matter how hard I tried, I just could not get enough of this drug. So much so that it got to the point that my work life was consuming me. I was so consumed with work that I started to make stupid mistakes. Stupid mistakes. Like we'd be chasing some armed robbery suspects and we'd get them stopped. And instead of doing what I was trained to do, which is pull up behind them and conduct a high-risk traffic stop, which puts me in a position of advantage in case they try and do anything stupid. No. I was the hero to save the day. So I actually one time pulled my car up in front of the armed robbery suspects. Now, it got so bad that I stopped caring about those around me, meaning my coworkers. Like when I did this, when I actually pulled in front of this armed robbery suspect's car, my sergeant at the time, my good friend, was in the passenger seat. So I literally put him directly in the line of fire because I was the savior. I was going to stop these guys at all costs, even if it meant the life of one of my good friends. Now, lucky for me at that point, he pulled me into the office and told me that I had to go back to patrol. Now, I didn't understand it at the time. I saw this as unfair. I saw this as unjust. I proceeded to throw down on the table my entire work and say, look at all the wonderful things that I've done. Look at all the people that I saved. Look at all the bad guys that I've arrested. And he proceeded to figuratively push them back into my face. And he said, yeah, but look at your family. Now look at those around you. Nobody trusts you anymore. Nobody trusts you anymore. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. It hit me like a ton of bricks. And I felt like I was falling into a deep, dark hole. My vision started to get blurry. I started to breathe fast. And I actually sat in that chair and I cried. Not because I felt pity for myself. Not because I felt bad for anyone around me. Not because I was disconnected from my family. But because somebody was cutting off my drug. I was addicted to being a hero. So I went back to patrol and I was numb for about a year. I would literally go in, do my job, go home. But I was numb at home too. And so my life was not working. Like nothing was working. Not work, not home, nothing. Nothing was working. And eventually I had to figure something out. And this something was very simple. I could choose to be one of two things. I could choose to try and be a savior again and sacrifice my life for the innocent people and sacrifice my family and my wife and my kids, or I could be a leader. Like I was so busy trying to be Captain America. I was so busy trying to be Iron Man. I was so busy trying to be this hero that I was destroying everything around me. Literally destroying everything around me. My wife was ready to move out. My kids didn't trust me. Like I would come home, and my wife didn't tell me this at the time, but she told me this later. But I would come home, and my children were scared of me. Like they didn't know which dad was going to show up. Is it going to be happy dad, or is it going to be pissed off dad? If it's going to be pissed off dad, I better get ready to run and go to my room, because if it's pissed off dad, he's going to throw something or he's going to do something. My children were scared of me. So I'd become literally a shell of the man that I had been. A shell of this person that joined police work or became a police officer for the noblest of causes. I no longer was that man. No, what I'd become was this mock hero, right? This pretend hero. This person that felt like he knew what he was doing, felt like what he was doing was the best, but in actuality, I was nothing more than a fraud. That's it. I was a fraud. And so I'd pretend that I knew what I was doing. I'd come home and I'd try and give my wife a kiss, and that wouldn't work. And I'd try and hug my kids, and that wouldn't work. Well, why? Because I built up this pattern, right? They didn't want the hero. My wife doesn't need a hero. If I wasn't around, guess what? She could take care of herself. My kids don't need a hero. They can watch TV and see heroes. They can watch movies and see heroes. What they need is a dad. So what I was neglecting was the leader part. See, I was so busy trying to be a savior that I was ignoring the fact that I needed to be a leader. And this period of time, which was a multi-year period, almost destroyed me. Because I went through withdrawals. I didn't know what to do anymore. I didn't know how to connect at home because there was no drug at home. There was no hero drug. So what ended up changing things for me, and I've told this story before, but what ended up changing things for me is I had to, one, realize what it was that I needed. What is it that I needed? Not what I wanted, but what I needed. And what I was really looking for was connection. That was it. And I thought the connection came through playing the hero. And to a certain extent, it did. Like, it taught me a ton of things. It showed me a lot of things. And I met some amazing people, right? But that connection was temporary. What I needed and what my family needed was true connection. And the connection does not come through playing the hero. Period. My family needed a leader, and I was unwilling to be that leader. For so many years, I was unwilling to be that leader. So consider how this applies to your life. Consider where in your life you've been playing the hero. Like, you see it as your job to, quote, put out the fires. Bum, ba-da-dum, here comes dad. And you walk in the door, and one kid's peeing in the potted plant. Another one left the water running in the tub and is flooding everywhere. Your wife is frazzled in the kitchen trying to deal with the third. And nobody cares that you just walked in the door. I get it. I get it. You walk in and you think, oh, they need me. They need me to save them. But the truth is, they don't need you to save them. What they need is for you to be the leader. That's why your wife married you. I'm gonna sit on this for a second. Why do you think your wife married you? Was it your charming good looks? Was it your bank account? Was it your bench press number? Was it your spirituality? No. Your wife married you for one reason only. And that was for the connection that she felt with you. The connection that, mind you, you were more than willing to provide prior to you getting married. But as soon as that ring slipped on your finger, all hell broke loose. You're like, I don't need this connection anymore. It's ESPN and Cheetos for me. It's beer and burgers in the backyard with the boys. It's more work because what my wife needs is more money. My brothers, I hate to break it to you, but if you continue down the path that you're on right now, playing the hero, pretty soon you will end up broken and alone. And I speak to you from a position of experience. So, how is it? How is it that we break our dependency on this hero complex drug? How is it? Simple formula. What are the facts? Like, what are the facts of what's going on in your life right now? You have to be willing to look at it. And I don't mean how it makes you feel, because that's not where we're at yet. It's the facts. Like when you get home and you see all the dirty dishes and the kids running around crazy and your wife with her hair still in a bun, half up, and wearing her PJs from last night. Like, what are the facts? Look at the facts first. She's been dealing with this sick kid. Your other one won't listen to her. She hasn't had time to do the dishes. Like, all these things are the facts that you have to look at before you blow up. Before you try and play the hero. After your facts, look at the feelings. What are the feelings that you have associated with this? And I don't mean feelings of anger and pissed off and whatever. Put yourself in your wife's shoes. If this was you and you were dealing with 3 kids under the age of 5, plus a dog, all day long, what would you feel like? All right. So you got the facts. You got how it makes you feel to be in her shoes. Okay, now what's the focus? Like, what are you going to go after? You got options at this point. You could attack her. Absolutely. You could attack your kids. Yep, that's an option too. Or you could be the leader that it is that your family needs. You could provide the connection and the purpose that they're looking for, that they're lacking at this point. Could you do the dishes? Yep. Could you tell your wife, go take a bath? I'm going to take the 3 kids. Yep. Could you make dinner? Yep. Like, there's options here. Like, what is it that you want? If you want a closer connection with your wife and your kids, you got to focus on making their life better. If you take the facts, you analyze the feelings, you adjust your focus, the last part is the fruit. If connection is what you're after and your focus is taking you there, do the work to get what you want. Period. That's it. That simple formula. When I started to look at my life this way, things changed completely. Like, my kids are older now. They're all teenagers. And when I get home from wherever I am and I see my wife, I can feel, I can sense that something's off. And so my first reaction is to figure out what's going on. And she'll tell me, it was work, it was the kids, it was this, it was that. And then as a man, I'm able to do what I'm supposed to do, which is lead. Okay, the junior needs help with his homework? Cool, I'll do that. Daughter needs to go to this activity? Cool, I'll take care of that. Okay, let me run and get these dishes done real quick so you don't have to deal with that. Hey, let me get dinner on. Like, you can start to do these things that will start to make you a leader and provide connection in your home. Like, I challenge you to do this. I challenge you to see what would happen if you would do this for 1 week. That's it, 1 week. I challenge you. And you're going to see that the connection and the purpose that you were lacking all of a sudden appear. Because you've broken your dependency on this hero complex drug. All right, my brothers, that is it for today. Thank you for tuning in. For more information, go to warriorguardian.com so you can see the type of programs that we put together for men just like you that are trying to find this connection and purpose to their lives. Until next time, remember this: aware today, alive tomorrow. See you on the next one.